What is the difference between being punk and being a punk?
We are here to talk some punk rock, some music, comics,
Punk culture, DIY shit, anything we want to talk about.
That's what fascinates me. Give me everything. Absolutely everything.
I find that music and comics have always been intertwined.
Muckspout.
Chicks dig it. Don't worry.
Hey, welcome to Muckspout. This week I have Chuck Pino joining me in place of Ben and John. So
yeah, and I'm really disappointed, by the way, that my fucking mug wasn't on the opening video. Like, you're better than that, man.
This all came together pretty quick. I'm not that good. And our guest this week is Rob Kellenberger. You might know him from such bands as most recently probably Colossal, Rapids, but Tuesday and Slapstick are two that probably you're best known for, would you say?
I mean, I think Colossal is probably the most. I'm just kidding.
Everybody else.
Yes, probably Slapstick is probably, or Duval or the Popes.
Yeah. Cool. So, welcome, Rob.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I've known Rob for probably 20-something years. That time went really fast.
Yeah, for sure. I just met you at some shows, and then you seem to always go to the same shows that I went to, so we'd always see each other there. But yeah.
You were drumming for Mike Fellamley, maybe. You drummed in his band, right?
Yeah.
That's right before Duval. Yeah.
I really wanted to hear Rob say no. It's like, no, dude. I think.
I love the panic on Eric's face. Oh, shit,
I'm trying to think who else drummed for Mike. I can't think of anybody else, though. I think it might have just been you. Who else could, though?
I don't know, to be honest. As soon as I'm out of the picture, I'm like, bye.
So we talked a little bit before the show about your metal roots, as it were. I know you had been in a metal band before you got into the punk indie scene.
So not so much. I mean, we thought we were metal. We listened to a lot of Black Sabbath and stuff like that. But then when we tried to play it, we realized we were not that good. So we played a ton of cover songs. And then way later, Josh Trevino, who was in that band with me, we got together, put together Lord, which is one of my favorite bands I played in.
Is it?
Yeah, super fun. It's I always try to play with as many different styles as I can, and that was one that I had never done before. And as soon as I started playing, I realized I couldn't do like double bass drum pedal and all that stuff. So I just like basically started playing as slow as I could. It was super fun. So just super slow metal. It was great.
But actually, doing Black Sabbath stuff, that's not a bad. They didn't do a lot of double bass and whatnot. You could just enjoy the really doomy stuff, maybe
Right,
even like typo negative and shit like that.
Right. I think it was just by default. That's how it turned out, just because that's all I could play. So I was like, all right, this is the style of metal I play.
Is that stuff on Spotify now or anything?
Well, our first EP is on Asian Man, so
okay,
you can buy it. Actually, I think it sold so poorly that he sent me all of the CDs, so I don't think you can even order it from Asian Man anymore. But if you want a copy, just get a hold of Eric, and I will send him a copy. You can have it for free.
I would love to check that out. Cool.
It's worth the price.
Yeah. You have to pay shipping. That's it.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm probably in your area enough that I could probably grab something from you.
That's right.
Well, so I mean, I was all excited about the metal aspect, but obviously that's not near as much as I had been informed. So, as someone who doesn't like, I haven't. I did go quickly beforehand and listen to some of your tracks and whatnot. Do enjoy your drums. It's not, like, punk drumming can become fairly simple, just really quick blasts, so to speak, or just snare and a hi-hat sort of thing. So, and you're not that. You've got a lot more to that from what I could hear. A lot of like play with fills and such. What styles or what bands do you think really have kind of played into the sort of music that you enjoy playing, especially as a drummer?
So like early on, I barely could play drums. I listened to a ton of like AC/DC just to kind of figure out how to play. And then I felt like he was just super solid. So then I just kind of picked up on that. And then I think I listened to a ton of Rush when I was in like 7th and 8th grade. And Neil Peart's, like, he would just accent everything. So then I kind of picked up some of that. And then as I started listening to punk rock music, I listened to a lot of Green Day and Jawbreaker and stuff like that. And so pretty much a combination of all that stuff. Mike Fellamley, of course, comes into play because I love the Pope so much. But yeah, I mean, just basically, I mean, I don't really know where you guys got that I was like really into metal early on. I
had heard that you had played some metal, and so, but then yeah. I was curious about how you transitioned from that to ska.
I mean, it was just so I listened to, like, in my freshman year of high school, one of my friends introduced me to Green Day, and then just listening to lookout bands and stuff, we stumbled upon Operation Ivy, and then from there, I started listening to like bands like that. There was that California Ska Quake compilation that like Skank and Pickle was on, and a whole bunch of like California ska bands that I loved, and then like the Bosstones and stuff like that. So, but yeah.
And then Mike Park, and he's a big ska guy too, right?
Yep.
You probably weren't close with him by then. You do have you've put out a lot of releases with Asian Man.
Yeah.
Like,
I think I counted one time like how many releases I've played on, including compilations on Asian Man. And it was something like in the 20s, something like that, 24, 25, something like that.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, look out, baby.
Okay, so as a drummer, to go into that a little bit, I was thinking about it. What would you say is the most underappreciated part of the kit for especially punk drummers?
Like a cowbell, probably.
So you think more cowbell is needed in punk? Yeah. I feel you there.
That's a super weird question. I'm gonna say
I'm gonna take that as a compliment.
I don't even know. Like maybe the rack tom.
Okay.
You get maybe not underappreciated, but the least used.
Underutilized, yeah.
I mean, everything. I try to play everything.
And speaking of play everything, do you play anything else?
Not really. I mean, it's weird because I've played in so many bands for so long, and at this point I'm just playing drums. Like I'm not even thinking about what I'm playing usually. So I'm watching the other people play. So I've picked up like a general knowledge of like pretty much bass and guitar. I suck at it, but I bet you if I spent maybe like a couple months playing with somebody, I could fool you enough to make you think I could play it. Guitar, bass.
So what was in the water in Elgin, like in the mid 90s, the Elgin area? Like there was a lot of bands popping up like that were amazing. And a lot of them spawned right from Slapstick and Tuesday. Like that family tree is crazy in that area.
Yeah, so I mean, it was more the guys who were like maybe 5-6 years older than us, they started like playing all the time, and they created this like really small like scene playing at like people's houses and like VFWs and stuff like that. And then Brian Peterson, who did like shows at the Fireside Bowl and stuff like that, he started putting on shows at like the Turner's Club and this place called the Third Floor in Elgin. And so it just, we didn't really do anything. We just kind of showed up, and they had already laid the groundwork for us to just kind of jump in. But by that time, I mean, it was getting so big that we, like at the Third Floor, they had to like sometimes like stop shows or like at least warn people not to jump because they thought people were going to be coming through the floor. I remember a couple Smoking Pope shows that they were like I was seriously afraid I was going to die. Like, but I mean, it's just I think that just seeing like I remember going to a Smoking Pope show when I was like 15 or 16 years old, maybe 15 probably. And I just remember being like, oh, yeah, I can play like that. I can play in a band like that. Like these guys are normal dudes who just rule at their instruments and they're such good songwriters. I'm like, why can't I do that? And I think that was kind of like everybody just tried to be in a band at that point, and then some of us, did better than others. But it was such an awesome scene.
And you guys had a talented band, and both Slapstick and Tuesday at that time. I mean, the bands that came out of that like were just wild, like Lawrence Arms and Broadways, and I mean, you even had what's his name went to Less Than Jake, right? Like,
yeah, Pete, yeah. Really, like Slapstick was weird because I was in a band with Matt, the guitar player from Slapstick, and that was a band called Slugbug. And then we played a show where we saw, we played with Brendan Kelly's band. And then we were like, that guy is pretty amazing. And we were already, I think we had already like, we were like kind of playing around with ska a little bit. And we were like, we should start this. I'm probably wrong about the timeline a little bit. I have the worst memory, but, we basically just me and Matt just went to shows and then would find like the best people we could find and just be like, hey, you want to play in our band? And so we did that with Dan Andriano and Brendan. And then, I've been friends with Pete for a super long time. And then Jason Flax is probably my oldest friend. I've known him forever. And so we just kind of put it all together, and yeah, it's like the musicianship in that band was insane. I was probably the worst musician out of everybody, but I was just hanging on for the ride.
As someone who hasn't heard a lot of that 90s Chicago sound that you guys are currently talking about as the third wheel, so to speak, how would you describe that sound?
I think it's kind of, it's all very like, in my opinion, just like really hard hitting, melodic. I don't know. I was like mainly focused on melody and like energy, I think. But it's hard to describe. Like all my bands were so different that, really, I mean, there were so many different style bands playing together, but we all seemed to fit together like pretty well. We played with Apocalypse Hoboken all the time. Amazing band, sounded nothing like us. Band called the Meshuggahs that we played with a ton, sounded nothing like us. We played with the Popes a couple times, nothing like us. So it's just, but at the time it just felt right. You just played with your friends' bands, and then, just shows started getting bigger and bigger. And then Brian Peterson moved to Chicago and started doing shows at the Fireside Bowl and just brought us all with him.
Screeching Weasel.
What?
Screeching Weasel, Jay says.
Oh, yeah, Screeching Weasel. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that. I don't think most of the bands from like the suburbs sounded like Screeching Weasel, like the Screeching Weasel. I loved Screeching Weasel, but I think they were just trying to sound like the Ramones or something like that. So we didn't know what we were supposed to sound like, so we just sounded like ourselves.
Yeah, it's same with like Naked Ray Gun and stuff. Like they didn't sound like you guys and the Chicago sound that we're talking about. Like, but they were, you know, what people might think of as Chicago sound.
Yeah.
So the suburb thing is.
I mean, those bands are awesome. We just again sounded nothing like any of those.
Yeah.
So it's weird. Like I think people would say the Chicago sound is more like Screeching Weasel and like Naked Ray Gun, Peg Boy, like just kind of super melodic, hard hitting, aggressive pop punk, I think.
Yeah. So when it comes to Slapstick, you guys kind of unceremoniously just kind of like ended. That's weird. Like you guys, it's cool that you like because you guys are all still like friends and like there was no like drama. At least there was no public facing drama. Like
I mean, it was like basically it comes down to about half the band kind of not really wanting to play ska that much anymore, and some of us were just like just having fun doing what we were doing and playing these shows that were pretty decent size and just having fun writing these fun songs that people seem to like. So I think at some point, like Brendan would bring a song to practice that was just straight punk rock song, no like hints of ska or anything like that. And I mean, we were like reluctant to just do that because we had horn players, we had other people, like it just we were just like so we didn't make him feel like he was contributing, but we were just like kind of pushing his songs aside kind of. So it's probably my fault, maybe Matt a little bit, but I mean after that happened enough, then he was just like, well, me and Dan are going to go start a different band. And that's how it was. So, but yeah, I love those guys. They're still my very close friends. And our next tour was Slapstick and Broadway's together.
Oh yeah.
So it's not like we weren't going to hang out. We just wanted to play different types of music. So,
yeah.
And then Tuesday wasn't ska anyway. So,
right. Yeah. At that point. And then you guys have reunited a couple times too, even like, which is also weird. Like,
well, it was so Brendan called us one time because his buddy's family was having a really rough time. I think like one of his buddy's brothers had gotten in some kind of killed in some kind of stray bullet gang warfare kind of thing. And so we were that was the first time we got together, was try to make as much money for that family so that they could move out of where they were, because it was just kind of dangerous. And so we did that. And then for the Asian Man reunion, we got back together too, like way later.
Okay. Sorry. I like totally just blanked.
Yeah, no problem.
He loved your answer that much.
Yeah,
I loved it.
I think it was the Asian Man 15-year anniversary that we got back together.
Okay, so I've heard Asian Man over and over and over again, and I'm sure what I'm imagining is not the reality. So what is Asian Man?
Well, he is literally an Asian man who has a record label, Mike Park. He basically, his band came through Chicago, and my band Slapstick played with his band, and at the Metro, I believe, and he was deciding to kind of start his own label at that point, and then asked if we wanted to put out a record with him. And I think maybe Less Than Jake was before us, and then us, or we were one of the first bands on Asian Man, but it was actually called Dill Records at the time. And then then he took it over where he was running it by himself. And so he
embraced his heritage.
Yeah.
The amazing thing about Asian Man is that he started it in his mom's garage, and it still runs today, like 30 something years later, more maybe. In his mom's garage, and I think it expanded to her basement or something. But like,
Yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
it is awesome over there.
Yeah, and Mike Park is just an awesome dude. Like, I don't think anybody could ever say anything bad about that guy. Also hilarious. On
I can say a couple things.
Oh, you can. You know a lot better.
Dish,
Let's get to this.
right?
So on the as Slapstick kind of ended sort of unceremoniously publicly, Tuesday that came next kind of didn't end, it just stopped.
Well, so Matt decided he was going to go to law school, and so his focus was not on the band anymore. And I had started playing with Duval, and Dan was playing with Alkaline Trio, so we all just kind of got pulled our different ways, and yeah, that's pretty much how it ended.
Cool.
I would definitely. We've talked about possibly playing shows every once in a while, but it's just so hard. Everybody has families now, and
Tuesday's one of those bands where, like, every year when people start speculating about who Riot Fest is going to reunite, like, I always hear Tuesday pop up.
We've talked to them a couple times, but it just never worked out.
You need to work that out, man.
I don't know if I could play those songs anymore.
They're amazing.
It's so long.
Freewheeling is such a great album.
Thank you.
So I do remember hearing that you guys were recording a second album or working on a second album before you guys kind of fizzled.
Stopped.
Was that
I mean, we recorded a EP that never was released. It was a 4-song EP that we just didn't like the way it sounded when it was finished, and then we liked the songs a lot, but we just that's when we just stopped playing, so we never really did anything with it. So it's recorded, it's out there. I think Dan at one point got the tapes and tried to remix it and stuff, and I don't know if it'll ever come out, but the songs are good.
I remember I want to say one unreleased track came out on some comp at some point later.
Oh, I have no idea.
Okay, I could be wrong about that. Maybe I made that up.
The question Eric is dying to ask, but isn't willing to do it, is who does he have to suck off to get access to that album, to that EP?
Oh, I'll give it to you. You can have it.
All right.
All right. Well, that sounds like a date, folks. he just swiped right on this shit. Great.
I'd love to hear that.
What?
Dude, that wasn't a bad album at all, actually.
The Tuesday stuff.
Okay, good.
That's what I'd love to hear. Another band that you were in that was, I don't know if it's short-lived or if I just missed some stuff, but Rapids was some pretty great stuff.
Yeah, thank you. That band was just me and my buddy John. We'd been wanting to play in a band together forever. John Perrin, who plays with Josh Cater,
amazing drummer,
super awesome drummer, but he's also amazing guitar player. He's a sick musician all the way around. But
he's one of those assholes, eh?
Yeah.
Good at too much stuff.
Yeah, it's just part of him. He started playing music when he was like 8 years old or something stupid like that.
Now he's like 12. But.
Yeah, he was playing live shows with his dad's band when he was like too small to really fit a drum set. But he's an incredible guitarist. But we had been trying to find a reason to play, and there was this guy Mike Petrocelli who was playing in this band called Dead End Days, and they were awesome as well. But we kind of were like, hey, you should stop playing with that band and play with us. Or I don't know if we said stop playing with that band, but we were like, you should come play with us too. And then I think the result was that band kind of withered a little bit. But I think he's doing some stuff under that name again, which is, I just heard a song the other day that's just amazing. Sounds like David Bazan meets Kings of Convenience. It's really, really good. But anyway, then our buddy Rob, who's played in a bunch of bands with John at that point, he's an amazing bass player. So that was another band that, like, I feel like I walk into these situations where everybody else is just killer musicians, and I just like, I guess I'm here. I'm gonna play with you guys. Like, I've been very, very lucky in my life. Yeah, it's and that band was really awesome. And then Mike ended up like just kind of having some personal stuff where he just wasn't into playing as much, but I'm glad to hear that he's kind of back into it now.
I've seen a lot of that, like especially people that we know from like the early 2000s that were doing stuff, like all of a sudden in the last couple of years have started popping stuff out again. Like watching Tom Daly new stuff is
my goodness. Yeah.
Uh,
I was so excited to hear that.
Yeah. It's like some of his best stuff. Like
he played with Rapids too sometime when we would like tour or something like that, or we would have shows where John couldn't play, he would sit in. So that was awesome to be able to do that too. I love Tom Daly.
Yeah, he's amazing. I can get him on here too.
When you look back on all the different bands that you've played with and been a part of, is it like, do you look back and you go, oh, they're like my children, I don't have a favorite? Or you're like, no, fuck no, that's my favorite, or I like these couple, or?
I mean, every band was different in a way, but my favorite band I've ever been in is Colossal. It was probably the most challenging. It's like, I like when I'm watching the other people in that band play, I'm always just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, you guys are so talented.
Every little piece of listening to Colossal sounds beautiful.
Like, yeah, no, it's like Pat Ford, the singer, songwriter, guitar player, is like, I just listen to him. He'll just send me a demo of a song that he's writing. And every single time I'm like, well, you should release this without anybody else. This is so beautiful. Like, putting drums and bass and stuff on this is going to ruin it. He sent probably like 6 demos to us a couple years ago, and we actually got together and recorded and like figured out parts and recorded all that stuff for demos. So we have about half of a record done, but 2 of the songs that he sent, I was just like, I don't think we should put anything else on here. Just, he plays like a classical acoustic guitar, and just him and vocals. It's like, it's incredible. That's kind of how I feel about like so many of the bands that I've been in, like Josh Caterer and Duval. Like, I'm just sitting here like, well, this is crazy that I'm even sitting here playing with this guy. Like, just I mean, just so many people, through the years. It's been crazy.
So I was heavily involved with Duval.
Yeah.
And I don't even know, like, I guess, well, I'm assuming that you picked up for Mike, like, as you knew them well enough from playing. Mike opened for the Duval a lot, and you drummed with them, so you guys toured together.
Yep.
So I was going to ask you how you actually fell into that band, but
I mean,
therefore,
I had like the Slapstick Tuesday and stuff. We'd played with the Popes quite a bit over the years, and so Josh called me one day and said that Mike was quitting Duval, and asked me if I wanted to come try out for the band, and I was like, to be honest, nah. I'm like, I don't really want to try out. I would love to play with you guys, but like, I don't want to be part of some like tryout thing. And he was just like, all right, you're in the band. That was it. He had seen me play enough that he was just like, it's fine. It'll if it doesn't work, I'm sure they'll just kick me out. But they were just like, they put enough faith in me. But I felt like that's the only way it could work, is if like I was on equal footing with those guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't come in being like, I'm the guy who tried out for this band. So, and then like, it was magical. Like, I just remember, because I was such a huge Popes fan, getting to like write songs with those guys, and just I just remember some of my favorite times in my life were on Duval tours when we would, after the shows, get hotel rooms, and I would be like, I'm gonna room with Josh, and then I would just be like, Josh, go get your acoustic guitar and play songs for me. And then he would just like play songs, and we'd just hang out in the hotel room, and he'd just play songs, and like it's just amazing.
I had one time in the studio. It was when they were doing the thick oil comp.
Yeah.
I was downstairs with Josh, and I was just like, "Can you play Don't Be Afraid?" Like he just pulled out his guitar and started playing it. It was just.
I think it's the first thing I did with them is the thick oil thing.
That place was interesting.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So for anybody that doesn't know, Josh and Duval at that time was Josh Caterer and Eli Caterer. So Eli Caterer is probably one of the top guitarists that, well, actually both of them are like a couple of the top guitarists that I've like experienced, I think.
Yeah, I think Josh has like they balance each other perfectly as far as guitar players in the same band. Josh has this kind of more fluid and more like, I don't know, it's not expected, but just more like melody driven, maybe guitar work, solo stuff. And then Eli comes in and plays something that you're like, I don't know about that. But then like after you've heard it like 3 times, you're like, that's maybe the coolest thing I've ever heard. Yeah. It works. It's just not what you were expecting. And then Josh comes ripping in usually with his solos, and you're just like, all right, I'm going to just sit back here and watch you guys.
Yeah, that had to be really pretty. Well, I guess maybe you aren't intimidated by that anymore, but like Josh's lyrically, he's like one of tops for me. And being an old school Popes fan, I'm sure it was similar for you. So that had to be pretty wild.
It was never intimidating. I mean, I just like it's for me, like music has never been like about anything other than just relationships and just like playing music with people I love and want to write music with. So like to me, it was just like an opportunity to play with somebody I like really, or those guys like I really respected. So it wasn't ever intimidating at all. It was more just like, this is super fun right now. It's just like, I mean, think about it. If like, who's your favorite comic book artist?
Mine probably Greg Capullo.
What does he do?
He was a Batman artist.
Okay.
Done a number of other things.
Now think about if you got to like ink his stuff or something.
I would never touch that.
You know what I'm saying? Like
that would be fun. That would be embarrassing.
But if he called you and was like, "I love your stuff,"
yeah, right,
come and work with me, like it was always just super fun and always reciprocal. Like I think he thought I was a good drummer, and he's a great guitar player, lyricist. He wrote probably one of the greatest songs of all time, and Pretty Pathetic. So
yeah,
that song. And the thing that's always sucked when I played with the Popes was that at that point he had altered the arrangement so that pretty much I didn't get to play on any of it. But I got to hear him like perform almost the full song by just watching. So that was nice. But
when I had Josh on our show, we talked about him doing like 4 songs during it. It was before Christmas, and hearing Josh sing any Christmas music is like one of my favorite things, for the last couple decades. So, but I had asked him to sing Pretty Pathetic, and he was like, "No, that song's such a downer." I was like, "But it's such a great downer."
Oh man, it's like the whole twist in that song is like brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love it.
So on the subject of smoking Popes, then so Duval kind of ended and the Popes came back and you were there.
Yeah, so I remember I was working in Woodfield Mall at the Apple store at the time, and Josh called me and he said, "Hey, I'm gonna be up at Woodfield. Do you want to get lunch with me when I'm up there?" I'm like, "Yeah, just come on in and then I'll take my lunch." So we went to some like really weird. I can't even remember what restaurant it was, but he said he was just like the Popes are getting back together, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!" I was so psyched because that's like one of my favorite bands of all time.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "But Mike is not going to do it. Do you want to play drums?" And I was like, "Well, let me call Mike first."
Oh, yeah, right.
So of course I wanted to, but I also wanted to make sure I was respecting Mike, and so he was fine with it. And then years later, Neil was playing with the Popes, Neil Hennessy, and
I had forgotten that he played with them.
he was amazing in that band. He's always amazing, but he I guess he was out of town or something with Lawrence Arms and wasn't able to play, so they called me to see if I would fill in for the Pope show. And I was like, I mean, I'll do it, but you guys should see if Mike will do it.
Mm.
And he's like, "Well, I haven't really talked to him in a long time." I'm like, "Well, you should call him. I just talked to him recently, and I think he'd be open to doing it. And I think that would be amazing if you guys got back together."
Hell
And
yeah.
so then they talked and worked it out, and now he's back with them. And that, the everything they've done since has been amazing, I think.
Yeah.
You gotta respect a guy who loves the music enough to talk himself out of a job.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Like, it's like if you had a chance to get back together your favorite band of all time,
Yeah.
you would do it. It's not probably my favorite band of all time, but it's one of my top 5, I would probably say. And I knew from talking to Mike that he was open to it, and they hadn't really talked to each other for so long, and that was the only reason they weren't getting back together. So
Awkwardness.
so bad though, because I basically kicked Neil out of the band. But
He's been fine, I think.
yeah, he's fine.
He's had some awesome projects of his own.
Yeah.
So Colossal. You talked about them a bit, but how did that form? Like,
So again, it was Jason Flax who was in Slapstick early on, and he quit because he went to college and got his teaching degree and stuff like that. But he was in Slapstick as well. So again, I've known him since 7th grade. We've been super close friends since. He was in my first band of all time, Animal Crackers, in 7th grade. But we wanted to start a band with Pat Ford, who was in that band Flowers with Dan Andriano, and just killer songwriter, singer. So we started playing together, and then we got our buddy Jeff Foyt, who was just an old friend of mine. I've known him since kindergarten, actually, but we had kind of just not talked for a super long time. Then he moved back into town, and I didn't even know if he played bass still. He played in a band called, I can't even remember what the band was called. Something like Violent Yard Sale or something like that. But they were like, they were like a high school, like super aggressive, like punk band. But I was like, you should come play with us. So he came and played, and that's how we started. And then he quit at some point, and then we got some other people, but that's how it formed. Basically just old friends wanting to start something, not knowing where it would go, but it's super fun.
So who is Colossal now?
Colossal right now is me, Neil Hennessy, Patrick Ford, and Jason Flax.
I remember. I don't remember where it was. Maybe Bottom Lounge.
Yeah, probably.
You guys did the dueling drums on stage. I don't know how often did you guys do that a lot?
Yeah. So
okay.
It happened a lot because we toured with Lawrence Arms one time, and I think we just like at some point, Neil, I was like, you should set your drum set up on stage and you should come up and play this one song with us.
Yeah.
And then he had his drum set up there anyway. So then we just started like, he was watching and then he would be like, okay, I can play on this song too. And then pretty soon I think by the end of the tour, he was playing on almost every song. And then the best part is we did a tour to Canada, and the last show before we came back across the border was in Ontario, London, Ontario. And we played we were going to play for like 2 people. And we had just bought like a ton of grass and we couldn't take it over the border. So we smoked a ton of weed right before we played. And then we were going to get in the van and just drive home after it. And we get on stage and I'm like, I don't know how to play these songs. I totally blanked. I could not and the best thing ever though is Neil was sitting right next to me on his drum set and knew all the songs. So he just would just start the song and then I would be like, oh yeah, I would remember and just kind of jump in. But it was like the scariest moment of my life. I was like, I'm not going to smoke. After that, I don't think I smoked for like 2 years.
That's amazing. So you have 2. So Colossal still has 2 drummers. Or is Neil?
No, so Neil plays bass now.
Okay, he's playing. Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
So it's just a 4-piece, but we've talked about if we do end up playing another show at some point, we're gonna have Neil jump back on drums sometimes and have some of the older bass players come up and play when it's songs that they wrote. So
Eli Caterer was in that band too, wasn't it?
Eli played bass. My buddy Chris Perrin played bass. We've had another band loaded with like killer musicians that I'm just kind of like, I'll just hang back here and just hide while these guys go off. That band, a lot of the drum parts were like kind of like Pat would bring a guitar part that I would just be like, I don't even know what to play. Like this is so crazy. And he'd be like, play something like this. And so he would suggest a lot of things. And then I would kind of, flesh him out a little bit. But he wrote like a ton of like parts for the full length Welcome to Problems. He wrote like a ton of the drum parts. So yeah, he's talented.
Yeah, it shows like musically that band is just beautiful. Like those tracks are.
What about like physically?
I mean,
he buy the calendar.
So you've been doing this for a while now, huh? Like a good
yeah, I think I started playing in bands when I was in 7th grade, which was I don't even know how long ago that was. It's got to be over 30 years now. Yeah, probably like 32, 33 years. Now I haven't been as active lately, but my new thing is that I'm going to try to release some solo stuff that's just all me playing everything. And we'll see how that goes. Like I intended it to sound more like kind of like why am I blanking right now? Like Dinosaur Jr. kind of stuff, but more like riffy, but like not as solo-y because I can't.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then well, we've talked about it. We haven't done anything yet, but me and Chris Perrin, who played bass in Colossal, and then John Perrin, who played guitar in Rapids, we've been talking about getting together and just doing drums and 2 bass players and no vocals, doing something like that. So we'll see what happens there. It'll be something new for me. We've never done anything like that. So should be fun though.
We haven't talked about it all, but you've done backing vocals on things too. Like that's singing actually is not outside of your realm being.
Yeah, but it's every band I've ever been in, it's almost been like a reluctant thing. Like everybody, like I grew up going to church and singing like a cappella 4-part harmony all the time.
Wow.
And so I just knew how to do it, and I knew how to create like counter melodies and harmonies and stuff. So it just by default I would end up singing on stuff, but like later on, like if you'll notice, like I barely do it in Colossal. I didn't do it in Lord at all. I was like, let me just play drums. Like leave me alone. I did a lot of background vocals for Duvall.
Yeah, I remember that. That's what made me think about that.
That was super fun because Josh is such an amazing singer. It just seemed like, and before even that, I would listen to Pope's records and I would make up my own like harmonies for all the songs anyway. So I'm like, I could sing with this guy.
Did you sing with him in the hotel room?
Nah.
No, just sat back and watched.
I mean, I don't know how much that happened, but
Yeah.
happened a couple times, and it was like maybe one of the coolest memories I've had.
I was gonna ask you if in your 30-something years now, like what would be a standout moment on stage for you? Or backstage, I guess.
I mean, probably one of the coolest things ever was going to. I played with the Cheese for a Japan tour and a Europe tour, and in the Japan, playing those shows, there's like the crowds and stuff over there are insane. They like loved it so much, and then afterwards, we would just get done playing, and like usually we'd play a club that had like a full like shower and like really nice backstage area. So I would just like quickly go backstage, shower, get dressed, and then go out and like basically shake the hand of every single person who came to the show, like as they were walking out. It was amazing. It's a totally different experience, but it was incredible. That's one thing for sure. I'm trying to think of anything in the States. Some of the shows that Tuesday played on one of our East Coast tours. We played in New Jersey one time. That was like, I don't even know what it was, but I felt like that was the first time, or one of the only times in my life where I was like, the show we played. I don't know if people even knew our music, but like, it was like one of the only times where we walked in there, and we had been playing so much together at that point that we were just such a well-oiled machine that we just like got on. There wasn't even a stage. It was just a floor of like some kind of lodge that we were playing, and just the crowd was surrounding us. And there are pictures of that show, but it was like an explosion of like fun and like music, and like I've never felt like that on stage before. It was pretty incredible. Like everybody was like so into it, and we were so into it, and it was incredible. I can't remember who we played with. The bands we played with, I know went on to be like super huge, but I can't remember who it was.
I'm gonna throw you a weird question because there's been so many like well thought out questions. Why not just like fuck with your head and give you a weird one?
Okay.
But if you could play one song for any band, kind of like a from Field of Dreams, that Moonlight Graham moment where he got that one up to bat. So if you could play one song with any band out there, who do you think you choose, and maybe even what song if you can think about it?
That is a good question. That's a tough
question. Good. Thank you. I was like, this is either going to be a stupid question or he's going to enjoy it a lot. So good. I'm glad.
Oh my goodness.
You see, this one you should have smoked for.
Yeah. Hold on.
I have an answer for it. Wait for his answer first. I don't want to influence.
I would say I mean probably I would want to play with Black Sabbath. I'm trying to think of a song I'd like to play. I don't know, something with Black Sabbath or Zeppelin. I would love to play with those guys.
From the sounds of it, because of all the different instruments that you're used to having worked with and whatnot, I actually think you do really good on something like the Wizard.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm also the drummer who I know, like, even in my own bands, I'll be like, they'll hand me a set list and I'll be like, what's that song? Like, I don't know what that song is titled. I know how they'll be like, it goes like this, and then I'll be like, oh yeah. Like,
Okay, the Wizard is the one with the harmonica.
okay.
That's how I've become now. I used to know song names, and now like they don't matter. I'll skip through. I'll look on Spotify or whatever, and I'll be like, oh, "What's that one?" And I'll play it, and it'll be something I've listened to for like 20-something years, and I don't know the names anymore.
I mean, who listens? I mean, there are people like my wife who she knows every word to like every one of her favorite songs, or like tons and tons of songs, and I'll be like, I guess maybe it's just because I'm a drummer. I'm not paying attention to the vocalist or something like that. I'm paying attention to the instruments or something, but I don't know any lyrics to any songs at all. Maybe the Super Bowl Shuffle.
You gotta. All right, hit us with the Super Bowl Shuffle. No, I'm just kidding.
I could probably sing the whole thing through. I did just. I have the 45 of it, and I playing it the other day for my wife and my 10-year-old daughter, and they were both like, "You're stupid. Stop playing that song and singing it."
Oh, that's amazing.
You're not a dad if you haven't embarrassed the crap out of your kid. So good for you. Yeah.
I've gotten to the point where I've had experiences with my son out in public where he's like, "Dad," I'm like, "Oh, you are getting older." Oh,
At some point, you'll embrace it.
Hey, listen, I've been embarrassing my friends and family forever, so I'm good.
oh. Well, anything, Chuck? I'm kind of fresh out.
You're out of questions?
Yeah. Out of prepared questions. Or prompts.
I thought we were going to talk about comic books.
Yeah, well, so you want to talk Archie some?
Sure.
Well, okay. What kind of do you have?
Archie
Are you a comic guy? Like,
no. I as a kid, so my parents were very religious, and they basically were like, we don't have TV in the house, but we have this huge box of, I don't even know where we got it. We got all these Archie comics, like hundreds of Archie comics from somebody, and we would just sit around for hours devouring Archie comics. Like, there was like a ton of Archie comics and Richie Rich comics, but like, you guys are all a totally different breed of comic fan, I'm sure. That was like just the kind of stuff I was into.
I actually don't think that's necessarily a fair statement because, yeah, of course we've evolved beyond it, but I think for me that was a lot of my origin too. Is as a young kid, I would read almost anything I can get my hands on, and yeah, definitely Richie Rich, Casper, of course Archie's as well, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I totally feel you, and often if you went over to somebody's house, and the parents had comics out, that was the one that they'd be like, oh, we have this. Or it would be harder to find Marvel. If you found Marvel, it was already inside like an older brother's bedroom or something like that. You know what I mean? Like that's where you found the good comics. But if there was comics out like for everybody to enjoy, yeah, it was usually stuff like that.
The best Archie comics, though, I always loved them, was the ones where they were superheroes. Like they did like only a handful of them, but like those were the best.
See, my comic is kind of like a punk rock Archie comic. Like it's very high school kids and
I did start it. So like I don't really collect comics or anything like that, but when they came out with the Archie Afterlife, did you see those?
Yeah, I never read them.
The artwork on that stuff was so killer. What is that guy's name? Victor or Double V. I don't know. I can't remember his name right now, but his His artwork is so killer, and I bought all those. That's the last thing I bought as far as comics.
Is that the one where they went really realistic?
It's just it's like Archie meets zombies.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I did pick up a book last year. I picked up a trade paperback that had a bunch of like it was Archie meets the Ramones was one of them, so I picked it up for that. But I haven't actually read it yet, so it's been.
I've seen that one, yeah. Yeah, that's the problem. I'm like, oh yeah, these are awesome. I don't think I read like the first like probably like 5 and then collected the rest of them, but they stopped doing it. I was bummed.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't read the rest of them. Who's got time? You just buy stuff to buy stuff.
That is true. I buy more comics and books than I read for sure. Yeah. Really frustrating.
I know. My wife gave me like 2 or 3 books for my birthday / Christmas / Valentine's Day gifts, and they're all awesome books. But I'm just like, I still haven't even cracked any of them. Yeah, I get off work and I'm like, I'm gonna just lay down and watch TV.
There's so much entertainment content coming from like every angle now. Like there's shows that I want to watch that I never get to and I totally forget about now. Like, and then 2 years later, I'm like, oh, I forgot I wanted to watch that. Like, but they're just constantly coming out, so it's impossible.
My wife just started watching Law and Order SVU.
Oh, I used to watch that.
But she started at the beginning, and she's just been going through every episode. I think she's like on like season 11 or 12 at this point. But she's been, I mean, it's taken her like several months to get to this point. But it's insane. I'm like, I don't have that patience. I'm like, it's got to be like I'm like into like the like all the Disney Plus, like Marvel stuff and like the Star Wars stuff, the Mandalorian stuff, like that stuff I can handle because it's like 6 episodes long, and then I'm like, now I can rest.
Yeah, we've been watching through The Walking Dead from the beginning. I watched it too. I started watching it with my girlfriend so she can catch up. But like, I think in a matter of a couple months, we made it to like season 4. But like, and I was looking and I was like, I only watched a few seasons of Fear the Walking Dead, and I don't know, they're on like 7 or 8 now. So I told her, I was like, when we finish this, we still have like almost an equal amount to watch after that of other Walking Dead content. There's just like so much.
That was a killer comic as well. My buddy actually collected every single episode, and then right when it came out, he sold all of them for like a ton of money. And then, but I remember the artwork is so cool on that stuff too.
Yeah, that was a cool series. I think I checked out like the first like 50 or something. I've been buying the collections, but I've been buying them. I haven't been reading them. So,
all right, I got a question for you comic nerds. What's the comic that if you could afford it, you would buy? The one comic that you guys want more than any other comic or book. Whatever.
For me, it's an easy one because I grew up. Fantastic Four was like my entry into comics, and I've always wanted the first issue, but I will never pay $4,000 for a comic book. Or
that's incorrect. Chuck,
that's incorrect. I love that you're wrong. You know, I had 3, and one of them I actually won in a $20 poker game. So that one's off of the list. So now it was Giant Size X-Men #1. I'm a huge X fan. Okay. And so now it would have to be Hulk 181 so that I could get the first appearance of Wolverine.
All right.
Yeah.
That is also incorrect.
Yeah. Is it Archie #1?
Well, I don't know, but both of those are wrong. I could tell you.
Oh, okay.
If it could be of all time, I guess you could just get like the first Superman and then sell that one and afford all the rest of them.
Go. What did you guys think of Moon Knight, the series?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I'm an old school.
I didn't watch it yet.
Oh, you haven't watched it?
No.
I really liked it. It got like weird at the end, I thought, but I was like, I could see if I knew anything about it at all, it would probably be really awesome what was happening. But I just like the end was like that twist at the end. I can't wait for the new season though. I think that's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
So-
Actually, the twist at the end was something I was waiting for the whole series.
Right, because you knew.
Yeah, and I was kind of disappointed that it didn't happen. But then when that at the very end, and then that happened, I was like, "Oh shit! Next season's gonna be awesome."
By the way, this is an awesome conversation for people listening right now. We're not really saying anything. There's a twist.
That's where I'm at right now. I'm like, I don't know my Moon Knight that well. I don't know what the twist is, what it could be. But I'm glad that you guys are talking like that because I do intend on watching it. But Moon Knight, yeah, he wasn't one of those characters that I'd ever gravitated toward or been interested in.
Well,
so
since you haven't read the comics, like Moon Knight has various personalities.
Yeah.
And there's one, like if you read the comics, there's one that like throughout the series you're waiting for. And
you just pretty much ruined it for everybody. Just
but not if they know anything about what I just thought,
you ruined it.
I'll go back in and put a spoiler alert on the podcast.
Once again, your answer is wrong.
Listen for an hour and then stop listening.
That'll be at the very beginning.
No, my favorite of all the Marvel stuff that's come out is the I love all the street level stuff like the Punisher.
Yeah,
Daredevil was killer.
Yeah,
I'm super psyched that they're bringing Daredevil back.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was like, I didn't think I would like Jessica Jones that much, and I started watching. I really like it.
The first season was really great.
Yeah.
The second one was all right, and then the third one I didn't even finish. I think it's the only thing I didn't finish from that whole set.
So you know what? I started watching. What's the one where they combine all of them?
No, the Defenders.
Yeah, I haven't finished that, but I've watched pretty much everything else.
That one
was fine.
Yeah, it wasn't great, but like I like the characters enough that they got me through it.
Yeah.
I would say that the nice thing about it actually was that seeing Iron Fist and Luke Cage together made me enjoy Iron Fist a little bit more. I was like, I would actually watch a second season of Iron Fist, but maybe make sure Luke is in there. Like,
yeah, well, Iron Fist was in an episode of Luke Cage in season 2.
Okay,
so that was awesome. Yeah, I was wanting that team up like that whole time.
Yeah.
Like I love that comic.
What, Iron Fist?
There was a Iron Fist and
Heroes for Hire.
Yeah, Heroes for Hire. It was the two of them together in a series for a long time, and maybe late 70s, early 80s. There's a recent series that was really fun too. But yeah, they were a great team.
Yeah.
How come Luke Cage doesn't wear his costume ever?
He did in that
He did have that one episode.
It was.
I was like, oh, I know why.
Yeah. It became pretty obvious why on that one. It was pretty amazing though.
No, those are my favorites. I like those all better than I like the, Spider-Man and like all that stuff. I love the Spider-Man stuff, but
yeah,
it's that stuff to me is the Punisher. I want that back so bad. I wish they would keep on going with that.
Yeah, John Bernthal, whatever. He's great. Like,
yeah, he's incredible.
Yeah.
But hey, we get Daredevil back. That's good.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they'll bring anybody else into that too. Like, there's all kinds of like little like.
I really hope they don't bring She-Hulk into it. Like, aren't they dating or whatever?
Yeah. Well, they were banging. I don't know. I'm further.
What did you guys think of She-Hulk?
I thought it was fun.
Didn't watch that one yet either.
You know what I would have loved is if that one episode where they did it kind of like retro, like 70s, where it wasn't CGI. They just had like a larger woman play She-Hulk. That was killer. That's what I wanted. I wanted it to feel like the Hulk TV show that I watched when I was younger.
One of my favorite parts was when they redid the intro for the Hulk, as her. That was amazing.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. They just did a little piece.
Yeah,
they did it like the retro style, and I was like, why did they not do this for the whole thing? It would have been so much better.
They could have, and they could have done that too, like, and not even done like a full series if they wanted, like that. Did you guys watch Werewolf by Night?
Yeah,
that was cool.
That's great. Yeah,
it was so wild.
Can you tell I sit around and watching TV now instead of playing music? My wife's always like, I don't even think you play music. I think you lied to me. Because she saw me play one show with Rapids, and then I never played again. I'm like, just because I want to hang out with you. She's like, I don't know about that.
Oh, that's awesome. I guess we could wrap it up unless anybody's got any other shows they want to talk about. Anybody? Chuck, you watching anything?
The Last of Us tonight.
Oh, I gotta get on that.
Oh, dude,
I've just watched the whole thing. I haven't watched it at all. I heard it's great though.
Oh, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the games, and so watching the show has just been absolutely amazing. Because of course, there's so much that you have to do in the game that you can't bring into a TV show.
Right.
And so watching them have to kind of attack it differently as writers and whatnot, I really appreciate that, both as a writer and as a real fan of the series. So now, man, I say like that's the one to jump on right now. It's so good. It's so well written.
What is that on?
HBO.
HBO, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, man. That's the one.
All right. Thanks for the recommendation.
You're welcome. Yeah, I hope you enjoy it.
Well, Rob, thanks for joining us, man. It's
of course
great to catch up and pick your brain about your last 30 years.
Yeah. Hopefully I answered some questions.
I think you did a few.
You did. Yeah, no, Rob, definitely thanks for coming out. And Ben, thanks for not showing up because I had a great time.
Yeah, let's be honest. Ben,
fuck that guy.
I'm glad he wasn't here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I miss you, Ben.
Just kidding. I have no idea who Ben is, but seems like a nice guy.
Well, we want to do some panel shows someday, so maybe we'll get you on a panel and you can,
awesome. Yeah,
you can meet Ben.
Cool.
Awesome.
I'm already like, DMing him as we speak, so we kind of know each other.
Yeah, where the fuck are you guys?
All right, cool.
I brought my A material and you fucked around.
All right. Thanks, Rob. I'm looking forward to Colossal. Anything else you want to plug coming up at all?
No. Just yeah. Colossal possibly has we've been working on that for years and years and years, and we continue to at a very slow rate, but I think we all want to do it. So I think you'll probably have a new Colossal record sometime within the next 5 years.
5 years. I think next year is the 20th anniversary of Welcome to Problems. So.
There you go. I know the EP passed us by 20 years not too long ago. So
could there be a deluxe edition or anything? Is there anything floating out there that?
No.
All right. We
just put out everything we wrote at the time.
Well, I'm glad you did. It was all phenomenal.
Awesome.
All right. Hopefully I'll see you again sometime in the next 20 years. And
yeah.
Thanks again.
All right, Eric, stay on after Chuck drops. I got to talk shit about him.
Okay, yeah, for sure. I'm staying down for that.
That guy sucks.
All right, see you guys.
See ya.
Peace.
Hey, you made it through an entire episode. Good for you. If you're looking for more, give the rest of the channel a look. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. We'll catch you fuckers next time. Later.